So welcome. My name is Jessica Castaneda. I work as the IDRC director, and I am also here with Campos. I don't know, Iggy, you want to introduce yourself? Or I can have you do that later on, whatever works for you. There she is.
Hi, good morning. My name is Campos and I work with the Las Cruces Public Schools. I am the Migrant Education Programs Coordinator and Federal Programs Coordinator.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Iggy is going to talk to us a little bit later on about how she uses this. I'm going to give an overview. I realize that some of you may have been to the other training that we did about Connecteam, and it looks like in the box that a lot of you, this is the first time you've ever seen it. So I am going to be doing a little bit different than the other training, but I do want to make sure that we give you the information that you need. So I've kind of brought up the Connecteam page, and I'll put in the chat box if I can. This is when you see I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. In the chat box, you can see this is a little bit of the link to it. So if you haven't seen it before, this is kind of what it looks like. So for IDRC, we were supposed to come up with, one of our initiatives was to find a way that we could kind of have a reporting tool for recruiters that would help streamline their efforts, but not make reporting really cumbersome. And so we didn't know if we were going to be creating our own tool, or we didn't really know what that was going to look like. And we came across Connecteam. So Connecteam, on their page, currently we're offering it. We pay for the subscription for all of our IDRC members. It is very reasonable. Their business strategy is to provide a program that's easily scalable, easily adjustable, and then they make money basically the more people that they have join it. So it's not super expensive, but you can kind of scroll down to the bottom of their page. They've got a lot of different companies that use it. It's used in all different industries, but it's very customizable. So it's kind of, it's an app that you can have on your phone. And we're going to kind of walk through all the things that it does. But if you want to look into it for your state, there is pricing available. We actually pay for 500 accounts. We pay $5,000. So it's about $100 per person to use it for the year. There is a free version that you can use some of your communication things. We have kind of the enterprise, and it does has a lot of different security options. They are based out of Europe. So I did have one state say, well, we're not sure we like it if they're from another place. They are based out of Europe, but they have a lot of different standards that they're supposed to kind of meet. And so they've got, I'm trying to look where it is right here. It's not right directly in front of me. Their privacy, and then the requirements as far as how they, keep data protection and all of this. They've got a lot of information that's available. So I just wanted to kind of add that in the beginning. So please use the chat box as you have questions. We will pay attention to that. And I'm going to kind of go back and forth between some slides. We will show you in real time what Connecteam looks like. And like I said, Iggy will be able to tell you exactly how she uses it with her state and her area that she's with. So our idea in today's presentation was really looking at creating reporting tools that really drive effective ID&R efforts and what that looks like. And so I just showed you this page. Like I said, we really wanted to look at something that when we came across this and we tried it out, we piloted it with our work group, one of our TST work groups, which is our technical support team, and they tested it out and decided what they liked about it and whether we wanted to continue on from this. But one of the best things about this is that each state could adapt it to what they wanted. We all wanted reporting tools, but nobody wanted IDRC to say, hey, this is your recruiter reporting tool. We needed it to be very specific to states. And so Connecteam really allows us to do that. So before we get into Connecteam, I want to ask how often you think that recruiters, I did this, I don't even think I typed it right. How often should recruiters provide reports and why? What do you think? Let's look at the box. We've got daily, monthly. What do you think? Weekly, daily? And this is really the interesting thing about MigrantEd is when we asked our IDRC states, we said, hey, how often we were supposed to create this tool? And then we said, well, how often do you actually have recruiters report in? And it was all over the place. It was quarterly, or it was weekly, or if it was daily, or if it was monthly. So when you do, what recruiters what recruiter reports would be effective to organize ID&R. So if you say daily, what would that daily report require? What do you think? And if you say weekly or you say monthly, so whatever you put in your answer, if you'll put another answer of what kind of data you're getting on that report. If you do it monthly, what are you getting? What are you filling out? Or what are you getting? What does it look like? What are you doing? And it says enrollments and withdrawals from schools, an ID&R activity log. So what, like on the activity log, what would you get from that? Location, purpose, COE number, maybe? Okay. What else? COEs completed, camps, addresses visited. What else are we getting? It's important to document all our accomplishments, micro and macro kind of thing. Area recruited, places visited, places we visit, COEs. Okay. Where does that information go? Let's say you do a daily report. What happens with that? Why would you think daily might be important? And eligibility report, services provided, recruitment efforts. Why would what could you capture in a daily report that really could be helpful to this question to effectively organize your ID&R efforts? End of eligibility report. So if you run into families and services provided, because some of you are going monthly, some of you are going weekly, some of you are going daily. That's a very different amount of data that you're getting. If right now I said, hey, if you're doing monthly, I think you should be doing daily, or the opposite, what would you say? Why do you think it's a COE completed, location of COE, feedback from ID&R efforts completed? Okay, so as weekly can miss key components, contacts, location, daily keeps everyone up to date. Claudia said daily for locations that have been covered. You can put leads, where recruited, business stopped, etc. I am a real big believer in data because I feel like as a recruiter, you come into so many different places and people and phone numbers and things that need to be changed. I worked for a long time as I was the ID&R coordinator, but I was also responsible to cover the state. And we had many, many dead areas where we didn't have anything going on and we'd have to start it and meet new people. And my daily reports were helpful for me. They were helpful for me to go back and say, what did that guy say? When did he say I needed to come? So as a recruiter, it was helpful for me to keep track of where I went. And then when I didn't find anybody, I could prove to my supervisor, hey, look, I was recruiting. Look at all these people I met. And later when I was a supervisor, I could tell them, hey, do you think that you can tell? I had a boss that said, you can tell how good a recruiter is by how many people they sign up. What would you say to that? That if I tell you a good recruiter, you can tell, look at all your recruiters, and the one that finds the most is the best recruiter. What do you think? Do you agree with that? Guillermo says no. Okay, what would you say? No. What would you tell them? Not always the case, not necessary. It all depends. It completely depends on your area. It depends on who's out there. It depends on, so your report, it should be able to show that, be able to see what you're doing. So what kind of reports can be used with IDR, with identification recruitment efforts? When we were creating, kind of trying to figure out what tool, these are some things that we thought could be helpful related to ID&R. Your mileage reports. Some people use Connecteam for this, some don't. These are already things that we're gathering and that we need to keep track of. Farm visits. Do we keep like a profile data? Carlos says monthly activity. Let me see what he says here. Monthly activity logs would help with looking over IDR reports, such as enrollment counts. If a school district is down with enrollment counts, I can look over the logs to see what kind of IDR activities are being performed. So, kind of a snapshot of what's happening. Commentary documentation is very important. So I would definitely agree with that. So then you have farm visits. Maybe you're keeping track of your contacts, who you met there. Same thing for agribusiness. Community contacts. We did a mapping training earlier this week, and Evelyn that I was working with showed a map that they make of all their community contacts. And as they make new contacts, they have those on the map, and they can actually share those with migrant families. Say, hey, here's all the community contacts that are, agencies that might be helpful. But you could have a personal one that showed your contacts that you're meeting and updated contact information. So maybe as you go out, a way to report on that. I've got community contacts twice. I must have thought that was really important. Time and effort logs and service reports. So these are the kind of things that can be done. And these are all things that can be done with Connecteam. You can also do it in another way. Connecteam is not the only way that you can do it. We've just found that it's been pretty helpful. So my question is, when you turn in a report, like Carlos just gave a good example of what happens when he gets those reports, but how is the information from your reports used in your state? What do you think? Let's say you turn your reports in to your supervisor. Where does that go? How does that help? What do you think? Besides just checking that you're doing your job, how could that be beneficial to your ID&R efforts? What do you think? Thoughts on that? And maybe you don't have any thoughts on that. Okay, figure out what places need more attention. Perfect example. Recognizing trends, very, very important. It just shows your trends. It'll just be able to show what's happening. So you can see, it says it helps our supervisor know how much time we're spending on active recruitment. It can let ID&R staff know where they need to provide more attention, can show weakness for some recruiters that need additional training and support. So I think this is perfect example of, depending on what you're using, like Pat may be able to be looking as a supervisor to say, hey, this one really maybe is just only working with schools, and we could then provide some support on how to work with agribusiness or work with, so depending on how you're using it. So moving into Connecteam, what we like about Connecteam, it's completely customizable, it's pretty affordable, and it's easily accessible by recruiters on their phones. So there's lots of different features. If you go back to that original slide that I had, let me see if I can exit this real quick. Going back to Connecteam itself, let me show you kind of a few things that it mentions. On the very front page, these are all the things that you can do with Connecteam. There's the communication with your employees. There's a time clock that you can put in. Not all IDRC states use all of these things. They pick what they want. You can actually do schedules and say, hey, I need you to do these 5 home visits. You know, this day. You can actually put some employee scheduling on there. Checklist and forms. So these are like things that could be reports, things that they're filling out, task management, specific things that you want them to work on. And then you can actually do some quizzes and things like that, kind of knowledge-based things. So they've got information here on all of these different things that you can do. And so I'm going to show you exactly, we're going to actually create some reports based on what you guys want. We'll do some stuff together, but here's some things here that you can do. We had a comment, it says our state ID&R coordinator followed up with employees that were resistant to working with us. Perfect example that you've got some sort of, your coordinator can read your report, see who you need support with. We used to use them in Tennessee. We'd do a daily report and they would all come in and I would review them. And the recruiters would put questions in there. Hey, I can't get into this place. Do you have a suggestion? And they would put it inside the report. It was my job to read the report and get back to them and help them out with those questions and comments that they had. And so I believe it should be something that is a living thing, that it's not just people are just filing it and it's going away somewhere, that data, if you're going to have recruiters capture data, that it's going to be valuable data. It's going to show what they're doing, but it'll also be able to help kind of inform things that need to be done later. It says our state ID&R coordinator. Okay, we already read that. So let me go back to my slides. So here is, let me see if I can show it from the current slide. So today I'm going to show you an account that's not the national account, but you can take a look. Here are a few things that people are using. So Kentucky may have a professional development plan. They may have a work report, and then you can see how they're using it. Right here, it'll say there's 133 new work reports. Mesa, Arizona has a visit report. Some of these are not yet assigned, they're working on them. There's an end of workday summary by some state. There's a practice mapping pilot. There are supplemental services. And then you can kind of see anytime that there's a new entry, it'll show how many employees are assigned to it and how many new entries you have. And so if I'm a supervisor, I can go in and say, okay, let me check this new thing. Now, they'll only see, you're seeing my account, which I can see a lot of different states. If you're on there, you will only see your state assigned things. And so I'll show you kind of what that looks like. But the idea is we're using a lot of different data. So one of the ways that states are using it is on farm profiles. They'll have a quick report that, and we'll show you that in a second, of a farm profile, and then they'll export that into Excel and be able to put it on a state map and be able to say, hey, here's this goes with our nurseries, or this goes with our farms, and be able to put this specifically on there. So our encouragement of Connecteam is to take the data, not just gather it, but use it for a purpose, help it guide your efforts, and make sure that the recruiters can have access to that. So here's an example of the kind of data that you might want to, at one point we did in New Mexico, we did a kind of a canvas of a particular area, and all of us that were responsible to go in and help also had to keep really good notes of what happened. And then afterwards, those notes would go on the map. And so things like from your reports, that information can be uploaded in real time to a private place that you can then, as you're out in the field, remember the last time I talked to Mr. Laporte was this date, and this is what he said. And so those reports are not just something you're typing up saying, hey, it was a good day, and that's the end of it. It also should be a way that you can go back and see that information. So for me, that was one of the most beneficial things whenever I filled out reports, to remember a year later, I could look back and say, what was I doing last year? I could go back and say, oh, I was visiting this one, or maybe I visited all the old addresses of places that we used to have, and some of them were now permanent residents there, and I needed to just get rid of that old address as a place that I needed to visit. So old addresses of migrant families, as they come and go, we kept track of those and then tried to make sure that we visited those to see if new families came in. So the idea is you gather information, you use it. So the recruiters are getting out, like we always said, I can give you this map, but come down to it, you're going to know more than I know. I can give you what I think are the data points, but come back and tell me what needs to go away, what needs to still be there. And hopefully, if you prove, as much as you're proving that there are families, you're proving that there's not families in certain areas, and you can organize what areas you need to focus on or not. So this is something that I personally very much believe in. When we did another session and we were talking about, sometimes states will come in and say, we need to have people come in and do a sweep for us. I always say, if you're going to do that, make sure you know where they're going to go, what they're going to do, and have them report back. Same thing with regular ID&R. Where are they going? What are they doing? How can you support them? What they should know, that report's going to be reviewed by somebody, and then be able to provide feedback. So I actually have, I have an example of a recruiter's, hopefully I didn't have any of his information in, he might be on this call. I have an example of, just other sources, like maybe you have all these farms that they're supposed to be reaching out to. You may be keeping all of this data in spreadsheets. You may be keeping it on Connecteam, but the reason is you should be reaching out to your farms, and you should be keeping data on what's happening. So whatever system works best for you, Connecteam does not have to be the only thing, but I do want to show the benefits of it. So here is another example of, you can see this, a daily log that might be in New Mexico. You can see when it was filled out and how often it was filled out. And then you can see, these are four, I've got this slide, this isn't one, and this is another, and this is another. So it's 3 different little things I threw on. You can see when your recruiters report things, and then you can also, and I'll show you in real time when we design one, you can also send feedback. So a recruiter puts their comments in, they fill out their report, and then you can go ahead and, as a supervisor, you can review it and you can leave a note. And so that recruiter will get a notification in their computer or on their phone, hey, there was additional questions about your report, and they can see that. And then they also know that when I have reviewed them, or when someone else has reviewed them or not, and they say, hey, you haven't looked at it for 4 or 5 days. They can see if you're following up with what they're doing or not. So here's an example of what the form or the reports might look like. Connecteam gives you a really good way that when you create the report, you can see it in real time of what it will look like on the phone. Right now, admins, those that are creating the reports, have access through the desktop, and users have access only through their phone. So a phone or an iPad or some sort of device like that. As of in the next 3 weeks, everyone should have access, is what they're saying. According to Connecteam, they do updates all the time. Everyone should be able to have access through their desktop also. So Iggy, that's a new thing, that the recruiters should actually be able to go in and fill it out on their desktop here in a bit, which they'll probably like.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a new one. They do a lot of changes. They're really good about taking updates that people request. And that was something that they have been working on for a bit. So those of you that are already in Connecteam can appreciate that. So hold on. That's Iggy in a little bit. Let me actually get you into Connecteam, and so you can kind of see what it looks like, and we can kind of play around with it. And so let me go ahead and open that up. So I have it here already open. Make sure I'm sharing the right thing and that you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. So this is kind of what it looks like when you first get in. And at first it just kind of looks like, now this is just a sample training account. So I didn't want to put everyone's data with my other account. So this just kind of, and it's just showing New Mexico. We've got Iggy here from New Mexico. So we're going to kind of show a few things without showing any of their stuff. So the way this is set up, you first open is your overview. If I wanted to do quick things like add a user, add admins, send an update, which I'll show you what that means in just a little bit. If I want to go to chat, or if I want to create an event, or I want to create a workflow. Their words for reports are workflows. So that took me a little bit to understand, like, that's just a report. Like, what the heck do you mean by workflow? So I can click here and see activity. And so it might show, it'll say, here's some things that people did, recently. And then they have what's called smart groups. So whenever, I'm not assigned with this account very many smart groups, but I just have like Kansas and New Mexico. So the way that it's set up, let's say New Mexico needed 5 regions, and then in each one of the regions, they need 6 school districts. You can set it up however you want. But when you set it up by smart group, that basically means like Las Cruces public schools can have their own group, and that no one else will see it except for that group. And you'll see it in a second when we assign something to that. Iggy, if you want to say anything too, and feel free to just add your comments if you want.
Okay, I will.
Then there's the chat function. And so I kind of deleted off anything that I had, but you can basically add a new chat, send it in-house. So you're not just using people's personal cells that they can see everything. It's an in-house through the app. And you can do teams. So you can put it so that it's almost like a multiple user chat where you can just send out and say, I want it to go to these 4 or 5 people. And you can also archive chat so that it's on there and you can get rid of them whenever you want. Then there's something called an update. So if you get on here, I'm just going to send an update to Iggy. So I can start from scratch. And what this is on her phone, or if she's an admin, she can see it. When she opens up, if she was to open up her account on her phone, the first thing she'll see is any updates, almost like a Facebook update. It's right there. So I can start it from scratch, and I can just say, thank you, Iggy, if I can type, for helping me today. I can't type. Okay, I can put, a different background on it. I can make a crazy face. I can add GIFs, I can add video. I can also add a shortcut to, maybe I created a new report or something that I want her to see in Connecteam, and I can pick that out. I can attach a link. Maybe I want her to see a new document that I need her to take a look at. Any of those kind of things I can attach through there. So I'm just going to say that I'm going to send her a shortcut. I'm just going to go in under the recruiter reports log, and I want her to see the New Mexico weekly report. And so then I can see over here what she's going to see, and then I can click next. And then I can select the users that can get this particular report. So everything I'm going to do is going to be published to Iggy today, and I will delete it later so she doesn't have all this stuff. So then it'll say who is this going to go to? It's just going to go to Iggy. Now it could go to all of them, but it's only going to go to Iggy. And I press this, and it'll say, okay, what do you want to say? I can just say, hey, just wanted to. I can't type again. I can't type at all. And then it'll say, do you want to notify them? If I unclick this, then it won't send her a push notification. It'll just show up. I can remind her. I send it to her and she doesn't look at it, and I really want her to see it. I can remind her to see it, and then I can post it on her feed. I can post it anonymously, and then I can allow her to comment or not. And I can also schedule when I want it to go away. Like, okay, so we're going to schedule this so she doesn't have to see all the stuff that I'm sending her. We're going to make it go away tomorrow. I press next. It'll tell me that it's ready to go. I press confirm, and it goes out. So then I can actually go later on and check and see, Iggy did not view my, my update. But as soon as she views that, it will show that she's viewed that. So it kind of shows you what people can see and what they can't. So of course you don't want to be micromanaging and expecting her to see everything you send out at that moment. But the idea is you can see the point. Hey guys, we have a new form I need you to review. And you notice that 4 of them didn't submit it. Well, you can notice that they didn't submit it because they didn't see it yet. And so you can kind of see, and then you can actually click on this. And I believe that you can send a reminder. Yeah, I can click on this and it'll say actions. And I can say, hey, you know, could you take a look at this? And it will send one more notification. So this is kind of this is what they call their update features. So then we have over here on the side, really where people have put their boxes of reports. And so we've got position and job opening. One of the things here is we've got state reports and staff training. So let's say we want to look at, it says Connecteam link by email accounts or phone numbers. It's both. So you have the phone number is kind of, they do verifications for security purposes. The users will have to be able to log in and, like, for example, all admins have double verification. So whenever I go to log in, it's going to send to my phone. It's going to send a quick link to be able to get in. So not everybody can get in. So your users will have, you can sign that first phone number in there though, and then you can put it on an iPad, for example, but it is tied directly to an email account and a phone number. So good question on that. All right, so next thing, let's take a look at some things that are, there's a time clock here, and you can assign, you can create. So if I wanted to create a new time clock, just say recruiter time clock, I can assign specific recruiters to just do this. Let's just say, I'm gonna say Las Cruces. If Iggy wanted to have a time clock, and maybe she can talk about that in a little bit. Do you want to talk about how, do you use that feature or not?
I don't use the time clock because our district has our own time clock plus, and so I don't use it. Okay,
I do not want to assign all of them a time clock and no, but basically let me open it up and you can kind of see what it looks like. So here is the time, let's say access clock. And basically if they wanted to use it, they can, nobody really uses this. This is not a feature that this particular state's using. I do know that like Iowa, for example, has most of their staff that work under the same agency. And so they'll, you know, kind of the same umbrella and they use it. Some places, this is not a feature that they want to use. And some will tie work events to, you know, say, hey, we expect you to be out recruiting in this area this day, and they'll actually put their assignment with their time clock. So we don't require that anybody uses any particular area. We just ask right now, we're just piloting, and we'll be piloting this year. And we're just providing the accounts if they want to use it. So some places you have mileage reports. If I wanted to use mileage, I can create a new assignment. You can also do news events if you want them to know of something that's coming up. Then we're going to go over here to some things that are already created. And I'm going to give you an example of a few things that you can kind of see. There's some daily logs that these guys use. It's on there. You can see how many entries. And I don't want to like share you. I'm just going to share kind of what it looks like when you have, you can kind of see, let me just move this up. Let me just show entries. So I'm not going to show their work, but I want you to see how easy it is to export it. And let's see. So they've got different reports here, but if at any point I want to click the export button, I can export pretty much anything that we want into Excel, and I can download that. So it's very easy to just put it into Excel very quickly from that. But I want to spend more time on exactly like creating reports and not. So let's, in the chat box, let's decide if I was going to create a recruiter report, what needs to be in there. I'm just going to put recruiter. Are we going to do a daily, a weekly, or a monthly? What do we think? What are we going to do? Whoever puts it in the box first. Chat box. Okay, we're going to do a weekly report. Okay, so I press confirm, and at any point when I add this on there, pretty soon I'll be able to see on the side. So over here is what I can add into a report. So it says, for example, there can be a drop-down box. Tell me what we want in this report. What do we want? Give me some ideas of what you want in the report. Oh, she got a bunch of stuff. Location. Okay, so Pat said, well, right now we're doing a weekly one. Let's see, help me with the weekly one. So now we might have made it a little bit complicated because you're having to think of summary kind of things. So a weekly report, what are we going to put in there? We need the date. So we'll just put the date. Now you can ask for date and time, or you can just ask first, we'll just put date, and then we can say that it's required. So I'm going to say, okay, you got to put the date every time you have. So let's see, we got name. Let's go ahead and add a name. This is just an open-ended, let's see. That's just your recruiter name. Okay. So we want number of COEs completed. Okay, so this could be a number. Number of COEs completed. And I will put that this is required. Okay. All right, we got recruiter name, places that, all right, number of contacts we want to say, okay. Now, do we want to be specific? What kind of new contacts? So is this employers, or is this general, just the number? And I would argue that you could do this better. I mean, for one thing is a summary report. Another thing is like, okay, who were your contacts? So right now we're just going to do number of contacts, and number of contacts. We'll just put, these could be farmers, agencies, schools, etc. Okay. So here, someone else is saying specific contacts. So if I was creating a report, I would want the specifics. I wouldn't want, because a number I could just, you could just put, oh, May 45. I would want some sort of thing. So maybe here's a number. Would you want any sort of like open-ended that they just kind of explain, key contacts, they put 35. Would you want some sort of maybe description of those contacts? What would you think? What would be a good way to, maybe let's ask an open-ended question on this weekly report. How could we gather some of that key information? Maybe there's new contacts that they need to be added to a list or something. Help me out here. What do you want in the box? What do we think? Okay, new and type maybe. Okay, so we can put this in here. So describe any new key contacts and include their contact information. If you can spell, let's see. I'm sure you would spell better than me. Contact information, you confirm. What else? Anything else we want from them? Do you want like their mileage, maybe number, like total number, or would that be separate? What else could possibly be on there? So we've got drop down number, open-ended, yes or no, images, location. So let me describe this location one. Location is, let's say you did a farm profile, just a farm profile report, and you just had like farmer's name, address, contact. And if you wanted it to pick up the GPS location, if a recruiter fills this out, you can actually get, so you could say here, current location. It lets you say, you want the current location, or do you want to manually input it? So it does allow recruiters, if they have cell, if they have cell range at the time, to just click a button and say, okay, here is this chili field out in the middle of nowhere. I can press it. This is where I am, and it will capture that so they can get that address for later. So that's kind of where that is. So it wouldn't be that relevant if they're doing a summary report, but it would be relevant if you were doing any farm data type report. Anything else that we want on this? Services requested. Okay, so let's say add this, services requested. We can require that, and then we can press confirm. And so if you can see over here on the side, this is showing what it's going to look like on the phone when they fill this out right there. Maybe you want a, you can even do something like they want to audio record a comment or something. They don't have, they just, hey, don't forget, I need to put this in my report or something for themselves. They can do that. There's like a number slider bar, how many on there that you can do. There's also a signature. So let's just put signature. And you can require that if you want, and then you press confirm. So for the purpose of today, we'll just kind of show you example, what you can actually do with this, but I want to show a lot of the back end things that you can do. So let's say I've decided this is all that I need on my report. Okay, maybe one type of crop. So do we want to add something about types of crops, or so you can see what you could, number of see what are we missing for a weekly report? Number of COEs, number of contacts, any new key contacts, services required. If it's not required, it's just going to have this little red dot. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if it's super tiny. It's just going to have a little red dot on the side if it's required, and they can't move on until they fill it out. Method of contact. Let's see, describe it and you include their contact information. Okay, so let's say maybe a follow-up. Items that still need follow-up. And we can require that. That way they can just have that in there. Okay, and we'll move this one up. So it's right there. Okay, so let's just for where we're at, let's save this. And then, so I save this and let me see, it's gonna say, who do you want to assign it? So Iggy gets everything I'm doing today. So we'll say we're gonna assign it to Iggy. So she will get in her box basically saying, hey, you have a new thing available. So we'll say, I'm gonna go ahead and notify her and I'll schedule a remove so she doesn't have this, so she won't see it tomorrow, but she can see it. So then I press next and it will say, hey, your report is ready to go. And then Iggy will get that report. Now, there's an interesting thing. Every single report that you make also has what's over here called options and settings. So every single report, at any point I can say, oh yeah, this is what I have for this report to remember what it is. And then there is options. So let's go to what the capabilities are with every report that you create. So workflows is their words. So in general, it says, do you want to limit the certain amount of number of entries? So maybe you only want to capture 30 entries at this point, and then that's it. Do you want to limit the entries per user if you wanted to? Do you want to limit them by date? Like they have to turn it in at a specific time on a certain date. And then do you want to enable them to be able to download their entries? So recruiters, it's going to be helpful for them when they say, hey, what was all the lead thing, the follow-up that I needed to do? Where is that at? They can click on that and be able to see that. So next thing is, I think you have to, next thing you go to you can say who's going to be shared. So every time Iggy would fill out one of those things, I'll get a notification that say, hey, Iggy's done a new weekly report, and I can see that. And you can kind of see that usually it's a link to download. I usually don't have them send it by email. I just have a link to download to go in there and see inside Connecteam. And then you can actually, there's some logic that you can say, hey, we've got two supervisors, maybe one is over one recruiter, one's over another. You can, oh, Iggy's already completed it. So I just got a notification that Iggy has completed her report already. So I'll show you what that looks like. But you could have some, say if you have to select certain options. Then there's a manager field, which I like to have in all the reports that I do, that you can say I want to have a note, and the mobile user, the user themselves can see the status of this, like they turn it in and they can see when they get a note and then a status. So I can change it here and say, if I don't want this, but I can say questions, like maybe they turn in a report and I have questions on it. Or I can say, this could say approved, whatever you want it here. And then you can, or you can add something else, some other status to say, questions approved, pending. Maybe they answered your question, but it's still, so you can pick those. Then there's reminders. So you can tell the recruiters, hey, don't forget, let's say it's due on Fridays, that it will send them a reminder, hey, your report's due. And it will only remind them if they haven't filled it out. So maybe they get a reminder on Fridays at 3:30 p.m. Hey, your report's due by the end of day, at 5 p.m. or whatever. And then if they don't submit it, you can send one more reminder to say, hey, you never submitted it. I'm going to send this to you at 9:30 at night. And then it'll send them that reminder. Then auto reports, it will let you basically set up an auto report based off every time that, let's say I want a monthly report of what Iggy does, I can go ahead and set up an auto report so it'll send it to me. I press confirm, all of those back settings are there, and you can see this. So Iggy has been hard at work. She has already submitted. And so I can go in and see her report. And so she's got her information here, number of COEs completed. She made 10 contacts with farms. She described who she met. She's got the new information. And then services were requested were this. I can go on. She's got her signature. There it is. Let's see. And then I can go over here and say, maybe I say, who was your contact at? And then I can save that. She'll see that. She'll get a notification of that. And then I can put, I have a question. And so then she'll see it. She's getting on there. And she can answer that right then. Once she's got, now she may send me a chat. You want to send me a chat so we can see? She'll send me a chat of her information. As soon as I have a chat over here, it'll show up. And so, but if she does multiple entries, I get multiple one of these, I can just download those very easily later on into some other format, into Excel, and be able to use them however I need. And so I can also, there's some searchable things, let's say that I only wanted to see the reports when she worked in Hatch. It'll just show that there isn't anything that's for Hatch. Or maybe she mentioned this chili place, and it'll let me say, oh, here's this one right here. And so if I only wanted to filter out certain results for certain counties or certain districts, that would be able to be done through that feature. Anybody have any questions on anything I've said so far? Okay, so let me look at so if she does, if she'll send me some, I'll see that there. It's pretty simple. Most of these things, these are just different things that you can create, different action plans. Like several states will have a recruiter plan that kind of saying what they're going to do in the next recruiters, what they're going to do the next week, and they can fill that. It says, can a lead be assigned to individual SMART groups? Yes. So you can assign as many. So there's an admin. Let me maybe give you an idea of how the SMART groups work, and I can maybe show. So let's say, okay, so let's give an example. Let me do Las Cruces. So, and Iggy already has this, so I'm just going to give, maybe I should make up one that doesn't exist. Let me just, let's see, let me just put one that says Dexter. Click next. So it'll say users will have to have, the users will have to have the state as New Mexico. And then I can add another filter to say their region, if we have region, will have to be Dexter. And so right now there's just one recruiter that would actually work for. Now, once this is created, then you'll have a SMART group where I can reach out just to Dexter. But under the SMART groups, one of the things that you can do is assign who has access to this. So group admins would be who can actually use this. So the group admin could be any of the other admins that we have, and you could assign just that person to be able to see that. So then nobody else will see it except for that supervisor who's an admin of Jorge. Nobody else will see that. It says if you export, will the notes and status be included in the report? That is correct. Anything that you have, it will include in that. So very good thing. So maybe right now, before we go on farther, it says you have to use a cell number for the account. You have to use a cell number to get it set up. You could then, use it on your desktop. It's just to show that is for security, that is you. That is like, we can't just have random emails. That has to be tied, kind of like Amazon has like yourself, sometimes you have verifications through different companies. It's to ensure that your email and your cell phone, that this is you and it's an approved user, and that you can see it from that. So yeah, so you can use, like I only use it on my desktop. Sometimes when I'm checking reports, I use it on my cell phone, but generally speaking, I use it just pretty much desktop wise. Okay, so let me stop share. Stop sharing this. I just did a couple quick slides on, I don't know, Iggy, you want to share how you want to do this, but we gave Iggy account, how long have you had an account?
I think I've had it since, was it December?
Yeah.
Or early January, yeah.
So I'll turn it over to you if you want to share kind of how you use it. I can stop sharing if you want to share something on your screen, or however you want to do it.
Oh, okay. Actually, I can share. I did a little PowerPoint and all I did was copy and paste just because of the information that we have. So
Yes.
let me go ahead and pull that up. Okay.
Iggy's pretty good about learning new things too. She usually tries in their migrant program to trial. And so when we originally had this, I said, you want to try this? And she was like, sure. And then the fun thing is later on that day, she texted me and said, this is awesome. So
Yes, I actually, so here's my perspective in regards to, let me see if I can do play from the start to show. Okay. So basically when Jessica offered to use the app, the Connecteam app, we were in the process of trying to find a way to gather all this data. And so we were actually using Google Forms, Google Docs. We even tried using SharePoint at one point, but in order to gather all the information was making it impossible, or how they were accessing it. And so far, this app, the people that are using it right now are our recruiters to log in, what they do on a daily basis, but also to give us information as far as what services they provide. And then I also have our tutors, mentors use this app in order to log the students that they tutor. And then the weekly phone communications that they do to our families. And then if they come across, as they're calling, I also have them do a log if they come across a disconnected phone number. And so then we get those reports and then we can act on them immediately. And then the other person that uses it is me, of course. And so I will show you how we use them. So our recruiters, like Jessica mentioned, I am able to assign the task to our recruiters. So if I get a phone call saying that one of our families is needing school supplies or is needing hygiene items, whatever the need may be, I can go in, fill out the form on the app, and then I assign it to one of the two recruiters we have. Then the recruiter gets notified, just like Jessica mentioned earlier. And so then they are able to see everything, the parent's phone number, the parent's name, what it is that they need. And then so then the recruiter will come in and then we'll type in here in the notes, let us know what it is that they did. And then they will put in if they've completed it or if they need to return it to me because of something, either the information was incorrect just because of how we type it, or they can also notify me and tell me that they're working on it. And then these tags right here are manageable. So you, just like Jessica mentioned, you are welcome to, make those changes and modify it to your needs. Now, when the task is assigned, it's only assigned to that one person, so the other recruiter can't see it. And so that helps a lot, because at one point, when we were doing it on Google Forms, we weren't, it was open to anyone that can see it, any of the recruiters, but it was hard to see who was the one working on it. And sometimes the parents were getting called more than once or to provide the services. And so it was kind of hard to do that on Google Forms. And so this app is, I just fell in love with it. So that's one of the ways the recruiters uses it. Our tutors, we use it in different ways. Like I mentioned, for our state purpose, we have to report how they're using their hours. And so we use migrant funds so that they can tutor our families, our students. And so this is one of our tutors here. So as you can see, it has her name, her last name, and then it requests, I have them put their name again, and then the start time and end time. And then they also have to fill in the student's name, the grade of the student that they worked with. And then you can't see this, but here the reason is in case the session was canceled, the tutoring session. Here, this is where they provide information and tell me so-and-so's family had an emergency, and so we canceled the session. And then But if the session went on, they just leave this blank. And so if they did work with the student, then they fill in the content area, and it's a drop-down menu where they can pick whatever area that they worked with. And then they give a brief description of the activity. And then we also managed to see the engagement level of the students, just because if the students are being engaged, that helps me to provide any type of professional development to our tutors on how to engage our students a little bit more. So the drop-down menu does offer the choices of a little bit of engagement, no engagement, or fully engaged. And then some of the students will get like not like a quiz, but they'll see if in an informal assessment, right? And so then here they'll tell us if they've made progress, if they were working on multiplication facts, that they, get them. And the tutors work with them for about an hour every day, depending on the need. And then here they can put any notes. And then we ask that they take screenshots because everything is virtual right now of any of the work that they do with the students, and the tutors are able to upload those screenshots onto the app. And then we do have them sign. And then I can write here notes like, so-and-so needs PD on this, or I need to follow up on this family because they've already canceled 3 times. And then here I'll mark if it's completed or not. Do you guys have any questions in regards to this?
Well, I would just say that you guys, so your recruiters, they fill out reports too. So originally they were starting with just the recruiters, and then one of the flexibilities, the cool things is Iggy's working with multiple areas of MigrantEd, and so she's saying, okay, how can I streamline just our efforts in general? So you've got the ID&R side, they're turning that in, and then you also have, okay, well, we can use this in a way to be able to kind of track these kind of things. And so that's the good thing with the flexibility of how you're able to set it up. And like she mentioned, only, they can only see the things that they're assigned. They can't see each other's reports. They can't see any of those kind of things. It's just their assigned supervisors can use that. And so our idea was, let's get a tool that's, it's going to look very different in Las Cruces than maybe it would somewhere in Arizona. It just depends on what you guys, how your program's set up and what you're having them do.
Correct. Thank you, Jessica. And also our mentors and they're tutors, right? Have to do weekly calls to our families. And so they're assigned. And so when they also have to fill out, the app, which is a report. And here you can see the items that I request, because that's what we need in order to report. So, which is the tutor's name, last name, when they submit the log, and then the date they made the phone call, the parent's name, the phone number, the children's name, the number of the children in the household. And then if the parent was contacted either via text, email, or phone. So here in New Mexico or in Las Cruces, I require that they do a phone call first. If they don't answer, send a text, and then, or leave a voicemail, then send the text. And then if they don't respond, then they send an email. And so if the parent doesn't answer, then I can see, and then I can follow up, and we can send the recruiters for a home visit. And then here's other, in case the parent, says that they need help with the rent or something, the tutors can put any type of information or any need that might come up if they don't contact me directly. And so any additional notes, and then their signature. So this has actually helped me because I'm the only one. So we're one of the largest, second largest in the state of New Mexico, and I'm the only one that oversees the migrant program. And so I just needed help in order to organize all this, and Connecteam has been very helpful. It has made my life so much easier, and everything is on a report on a weekly basis, and I can go in and check and see what our families need, which is very important to us.
We had a question about the PowerPoint, so we can definitely make that available. What we'll do is put it in the Whova tool, and then we'll also have them on the IDRC website. So if you are an IDRC state, you can just work with, so that's 26 states in the country right now. If you're, I'm trying to look on the states that we have, you can just go ahead and reach out to your supervisors or those that are on the TST or your state steering team. They can share that information and we can get you set up. We do, if anyone is on a, let me see if I can change this. Oh, sorry, I had less Cruces on here. If anyone is not aware of even how to access that and you are an IDRC state, just reach out. We are having them, the states are piloting it, so they may not open it full up to absolutely everybody. It's completely up to their discretion of how they want to use that. We do have a pilot project right now where they have some data mapping and some farms and things that we're saying, hey, go out and complete some farm profile information and you can use Connecteam to do that so they can kind of test out the tool. We're really planning on piloting this entire year and then be able to see how we're going to use it in the future. And then, states can decide. We were trying to find something though that we couldn't, that if states were not members of IDRC, they could still have access to it. They would just need to purchase the accounts that they have and set it up however they want. So that was one of the pluses for us of not saying, hey, we have this proprietary thing that no one else can use, trying to just find tools that would be good for everybody. And so at this point, so far, we've heard really good feedback from it. We can, like the privacy and security, there's a lot of information we can provide about that. And states then can decide. If you decide as a state, no, we can't go because of this or this, we're not mandating or anything that anybody has to use it. Our goal is just to find more resources that would be helpful. And we understand how important reporting is. And that the idea is you want to get data that can help really inform ID&R in the future. And some of your comments, I'm also a believer that a supervisor should be supporting their recruiters and should be supporting their staff. So questions and things that recruiters need can easily be asked in those reports and feedback can be given. So we're coming from that standpoint of not trying to put some tracker that's going on it, just to kind of catch you kind of thing, but it's more of how are you proving that migrant families are there or that they're not there? What data do you need later? And how can we support, if we are supervisors, the recruiters that are underneath us? So not underneath us, but the recruiters that we're responsible to work with. So here, I should have put Iggy's information on here. Iggy, do you want to put your email if anybody does want to reach out there? It says this would be a great way to get leads to recruiters from supervisors and have them all in one location. Sure beats my 3-ring binder, yes. So that definitely is a way to, I've been on the same side as Iggy where you have like 5 different reports and 4 different tools and it's got to go into your state database and it's got to do, it's just a way to streamline. And we just wanted to make sure that this was available to everybody on there. Questions, comments, thoughts? Anybody that's using it? I noticed several of you guys have, some of you guys that are on here have accounts. Do you guys want to put comments, kind of what your thoughts are, even if they're the good, bad, the ugly, whatever you've thought about Connecteam, if you want to put that in the box, that might be helpful just so that we can kind of see if anybody else is currently using it that's on the, that's on this call or on this training. I'll just watch the box for just a little bit. I think we've got a few there. And if not, you don't have to too.